Hey, what's up, everyone? It's your boy Dark Pool Algo, and thanks for joining me on another weekend watch list building session. Today is Sunday, February 13th, 2022, and the markets are gonna go crazy. Yeah, they are. So with that being said, last week was just a nightmare of a week. We had, hold on, I'm gonna pull up my chart real quick and then we'll get into it. So last week, the SPY ended up closing below its 200-day moving average, which is not very bullish for the market. The same across the board, pretty much. QQQ. We saw the QQQ trading below its moving averages, well below the 200-day. And IWM was probably the best failing sector of them all, meaning that it just simply pulled back to its 8 moving average support. This week is going to be full of uncertainty and volatility. Just stay safe, stay green. You know, everybody just keep your seat at the table, but we'll get into that a little bit later. You're here for the top 4 stocks for this week. We have got 4 really good stocks that we're going to be looking at this week, and we're going to get right into those after we do a quick intro. But if this is your first time joining me on the channel, please take a moment, go ahead and click that like button, subscribe, and then go ahead and turn on notifications so you get notified anytime we put out a new video. I'm going to do a quick intro and we'll be right back to jump right into it. See you in a second. All right, welcome back. So again, I'm glad you're here. I'm Dark Pool Algo. I am a smart money dark pool block trade algorithm software analyst. I look at charts all day and I try to find charts that are going to make a greater than expected move. So yes, a very exciting week. I just wanted to quickly go over our top 4 stocks for this week, and that noise you hear in the background is my dog being crazy. One second. He likes to make lots of noise. I just got a new puppy, and puppies are doing puppy things. So with that being said, what we're going to do is we're going to look at stocks and options that have a greater than expected chance of making a move, either bullishly or bearishly. We're pretty much in a downturning market, so we need to make sure we keep an eye on the downside, but I think we can find some relative sector outperformers. What that means is that we're going to find stocks that are making a move inversion to what the market is doing. So if the market is kind of pulling back, we're looking for stocks that are going to hold up or potentially go in the opposite direction. So top 4 stocks for this week are FCX, CLX, VLO, and COF. That is Freeport-McMoRan, Clorox, Valero, and Capital One. We have a stock from materials, consumer staples, energy, and financials. I broke it up into this week because that gives us a greater than expected chance to really, I said that a bunch, really at least get 1 or 2 of those to help us make some money. So really quickly, we're going to use a couple tools for that. The chart you see in front of you is the Smart Money Dark Pool and Block Trade algorithm software provided by FlowTrade. They have created their own flow index. What that flow index is it's this purple line you see here on my screen. The flow index tracks smart monies, dark pools, hedge funds, large institutional transactions, and it's created its own algorithm called the flow index. What that does is if you see price action heading in one direction and the flow index heading in another, that means that smart money is either getting into or getting out of a position. Smart money can't just drop millions and millions of dollars into a position at one time. What will happen is it artificially inflate the liquidity. When the liquidity settles, they'll actually be in a lower position than when they entered. So they have to scale into those positions as prices either going or coming down, and they have to get out as prices going up. That creates a divergence point that we like to target. Okay. I'll get into that a little bit more as we get into the charts, but I want to first jump this off with FCX, which is Freeport-McMoRan. This is one of my favorite stocks to trade. Okay. What you see in front of you is the flow index chart. The white bars are price action. The purple line is a normal flow index algorithm. Red lines are regular block trades. Blue lines are dark pool block trades. And if you see me drawing some different white lines across the screen, that means that it's either a party or having fun. I'm just kidding. What a white line means is that there's a regular and a dark pool that are printed on top of each other. Those are major key inflection points. You want to make sure you mark those on your screen and see what happens when price interacts with those. So speaking of divergence, what you see in Freeport-McMoRan is a good example of divergence. And for example, at this point here on this line that I just drew across my screen, you can see that the flow index was heading in one direction, right? The flow index was buying into positions as price action was falling. When price action finds support and the flow index starts taking profit is when price action starts increasing back to that point of divergence, right? Price will follow, price will revert back to the point of divergence from the flow index, right? And as you can see, for example, if we had got into Freeport-McMoRan, knowing that there was bullish divergence, right, at the $39 level, price got all the way back down to 34, could have bought in at that position as the flow index was coming down, and price would have carried up to at least that $39 level. So that's a good example of the divergence that we're looking at. As you can see, we have some previous divergence here that had played out already. So this was flow index was selling off, price action was going up, price action is coming down to some original points of divergence, which may be as low as 39.40. So we're gonna look at this both ways. But what I'm seeing more recently, at least in the last 3 days, is a flow index is making a series of higher highs and higher lows. So some of this previous divergence may have been played out, and now we're looking for the flow for price action to follow the flow index off of some key levels of support. If Freeport-McMoRan breaks below this regular block at 42.60 and closes below it, it may come back down and test this previous low at 41.84. The flow index at that point would probably start selling off a little bit. See this move over here where prices, the flow index is making higher lows and higher highs, and it's starting to pull price action up with it. That's what we're looking to have happen here. If this bullish sentiment or bearish sentiments starts reversing at this point, we can look for Freeport-McMoRan to test this regular block trade or dark pool block trade at support at 42.80 using regular block 43.50, 43.69, 43.75 as a magnet to the upside, and a regular block at 43.87 would be a pretty decent move from 42. Once we get up into this level, testing previous highs, if we can continue to break over it, we can go 44 to 45 pretty easily. FCX has an ATR of about $2 a day, so we can anticipate maybe a nice long run for this in this upcoming week. The reason I chose this one was because it's in the material sector, and I think that we're going to get a lot of rotation out of large caps and the tech sector into different sectors. FCX just had earnings last week. The Ready Aim Fire is starting to curl around and giving us some buy signals. This squeeze is starting to curl around and do a slingshot squeeze reversal. We're trading at about -2 ATRs away from the 21-day moving average, which is our mean, right? We use this as a baseline. So we're looking for a rally back up to, let me just make sure I have the right one up here. I was like, that looks a little weird. There we go. That's a little better, right? Okay. So FCX, the Ready Aim Fire is giving us a mid-thrust buy signal. Squeeze is slingshot releasing, right? Should release to the upside. We have stacked positive moving averages. The 50 is on top of the 200. We're trading at about 1 ATR, which is decent. So maybe we get a little bit of a pullback to about $40, and then we get a continuation up, or we find support here and we make our move up towards previous highs. Some other things that we're looking at here in our trend spider charts is we had a nice rally doji. So I'm looking for maybe a pullback to test the 8 on the daily, right back to that 42 level. And there's a lot of support here. There is an old supply zone that is now a demand zone that runs pretty much this level here, right? We're coming back to test that. If that support holds, I think we can get a continued move back up to the upside. The 21-day and the 50-day are below us. We have stacked positive moving averages on the daily, 8, 21, 34, 50. Above the 200, point of control, however, is down at 38. That will act as a downside magnet. So if we can come down, test this newly formed demand zone, right? Because old supply zones become demand zones. We can get a nice little bounce to the upside. Weekly chart looks gorgeous. Still stacked positive moving averages. All right. FCX. Make sure I get all of them loaded up here. All right. FCX from a Keltner channel perspective, we came up, we bounced right off of the monthly top, pulled back, held below, just barely below the daily. We're into the 4 hours. So like I said, we may get that pullback to about 42, which would be support for a continuation up. Everything else looks pretty decent. MACD's starting to curl back around. Slingshot squeeze is getting ready to fire off. Maybe a quick little something like this where we get a little bit of a pullback, but I'm definitely looking at this for a retest of the 4-hour top, daily top, right at this 43, 44 level, and potentially up as high as 45. This stock moves really well with options, right? From an option standpoint, bringing this down to the 10-minute. 10 minutes, a little different story. We're a little negatively stacked, right? Squeezes should help us maybe fire off to the long side. We would be a lot more safe getting in above 43.75, trying to get through this. So hopefully the squeeze releases gets us up through that. And then finally, on our magic calls, like I said, we rallied up to the weekly, monthly top, daily top, 4-hour top. We're pulling back. Like I said, we need a little pullback to support, right, at that 42 level, and then maybe a continuation up. If we break 42, we can look at a move back down to about 40. So we can go both ways with this. Like I said, if we break down to this 42 level, we can come all the way back down to 40, which would fill the gap, and then we can look at the move back up from there. So this is definitely one we could play both ways. Okay. All right, moving on. Next up on our list is Clorox. Everybody loves trading Clorox. One second here. All right, everybody loves trading Clorox. We've got a little bit of bullish divergence going on. Let me make this a little bit bigger so we can see what's happening here. Clorox is just resting on this regular block trade about 144, and there was a big drop off. I'm not sure if that was due to earnings, but it has been range bound between 140 and 145. So we're looking for a bounce off of this regular block trade. The flow index is starting to make higher highs and higher lows. We'd look to retest this previous consolidation high at about 146. Above that, we start gap filling back up to the upside. All right, let me get this loaded up on all my other charts here, and we will go from there. While I do that, let me do this real quick. I didn't give you guys any specific strategies on FCX. Let me just look at these. All right, Freeport-McMoRan option strikes for next week. So if we back tested, say back test 40, hold on. Should have done this the first time. I wouldn't have to be switching back and forth now. So below 42, we look at 40. So the 40, 42. So the 40, 42 puts. And then I said, what about 43, 44, 45? Okay. So the 42 puts for this week, right? Those are well within our risk tolerance, right? Pretty decent open interest, pretty decent volume. Let me see if I can get... Oh yeah, there's my delta. I don't know why my delta was way over there, but all right, delta. So those 42s, those 40s are definitely put plays to the downside. The 40s have got about 50,000 turnover, which is good. The 42s at about 83. So either one of those look good to the downside, and then to the upside, there's a little bit less open interest and volume. That's just because it's been pulling back so far. Well within our risk tolerance. You could look for, a delta 40, delta 50 trade. So those 43, 44s look pretty good. I don't know if I'd go out as far as 45. There's a massive amount of interest at the 45s, as well as the 43, 44, 45. Yeah, so any of those look good. I'll make sure I pull up the Clorox options chain when we get done. Okay, so we went over the flow index. Then we can see flow index is starting to make a series of higher highs, higher lows, right, over its previous resistance. So if it can continue to move up, that would work out very well for us. And then we have a previous high target at 140, 146. So above 146, we get super woody. We can make big moves. All right, Clorox across the board. Clorox on the daily, we're looking for this longer term, ready and fire to curl around, finally start getting some reversals on the squeeze, right? This is either, we're trading negative 2.5 ATRs from the mean. Like there's a magnet that wants to pull us back up here. However, we've just kind of been consolidating. above 145, we can start testing 148, 149, 150, right? All right, big drop, up, down, up, kind of a little bit of a shoe. We're looking for a retest of at least the 8, so 148, 150 is a psychological magnet. Okay, negatively stacked. However, it looks like up, back we've got a pretty decent little trend line going on here, don't we? Let's see if I can just grab the right tool. Pretty decent support system, right? So definitely going to check that one out on the weekly. Maybe a little bit of a dead cat bounce retrace. Bringing it down to our Celts. I know it's really hard to read this chart. I just wanted to show you slingshot, squeeze into compression. MACD's curling around and increasing. Ready and fire is giving us some buy signals. Right, we are below the monthly bottom, which is easier to see on this chart over here. But on the 10-minute, we got above the 200, right? So we have stack positive moving averages on a lower time frame, or we haven't been able to do that before. So now we have an opportunity to move back up. Definitely got some volume up here at this 146 level. So I'm going to initially be targeting 146 and then 150. All right, so that would be the 146, which is just right here at previous highs. 150, there's a big volume zone in here. That would be the 4-hour top, and then moving up towards the daily. Way easier to see it over here. Nice move on Friday. Pull back to support. So, slingshot squeeze, ready and fire, getting ready to release, right? Trying to make that move to the 21, 146, and then get back up from the 4-hour into the weekly cloud and retest the 34 at 150. So 146, 150, a contrarian. If we reject, right? If we reject the 145, we can definitely pull back down to 140, right? So 140 the downside, and 146, 150 up, right? Okay, let's look at CLX from an options perspective, right? Looking at this week's expiry, 146, pretty decent bid-ask spread. Those 147s have got a little bit better from an open interest and volume perspective. 149 one has definitely got the most open interest. 145s, pretty decent bid-ask spread there as well. So if you wanted to go with a little bit higher of a delta and get a little bit more out of it, you can. But I like the 145s, 146s, and the 150s. To the downside, like I said, if we cannot maintain, we can't break through. Looking at these 140s, definitely have a pretty decent open interest. The delta is about as far out as I always go. So anywhere from 144 to 140 on the put side. Okay. All right, moving on. The next one up is Valero, right? Valero is our energy sector stock. All right, VLO in the energy sector, oil and gas, right? So anything, crude's been making massive moves. So is anything oil and gas related. Nice moves in the last couple of weeks. The flow index rally up. Is this a cup and handle? So do we see it continue higher, or do we see some pulling back? Right, what I'm seeing here is obviously trendline support. The flow index came up to a previous level of resistance. Is it forming a cup and handle and then going to continue up, or will it start dragging price action down with it? We have a regular block at 92 that seems to be holding, and below that we have a regular or dark pool block at 89. That could be a potential magnet to the downside. So just make sure that we draw some trend lines up here that it holds, right? And I guess that's where depends on where you draw your trend line. But with the flow index pointing down, we should look for some downside moves. Okay, so we're going to be looking at the ups and the downs on most of these just because we have to. The market has been giving us opportunities every day to play stocks down and up, right? So if we don't take advantage of it, that's on us. All right, Valero with a $3.35 ATR. Squeezes have released. Like we said, we're trading the momentum up to about 94, 95. We're trading at 2 ATRs away from the mean, so a pullback would be healthy, right? There's probably a retracement here. If I were to throw a fib on it, from high to low, a 618 brings us back to previous highs at, what is that, 86, 86.50. The 21 day is at 84.40, right? So 86.5, 84.4 to the down. We're getting toward the top of the range of everything. We could retest 95, which would be a new all-time high. Sorry, I gotta make my notes on this. If I don't make notes on this, then I will lose it and I'll forget what I was looking at. All right. Valero, nice uptrending, stack positive moving averages. We have an 8, 21, 34 move up. We're looking for that 50 to cross over the 200, right? So we're kind of extended, is what I'm trying to say. We've got previous highs that we're into. Looks like a pretty significant supply zone getting ready to take place from 96 up to 100. So do we play the momentum on the ongoing overall crude sector? We definitely can. We can definitely look at some upsides, right? I would say probably, I'll have to look at the options chain, but the 92.50, 95 calls, right? Bringing it down to the 10-minute chart. This is why I'm thinking we may pull back just a little bit. We're back inside the 10-minute cloud. We do have support down here at 90, right? And then the 200's at 89. So I need to rechange. Let me move that a little bit. Let's go $90, huh? All right. The reason I'm looking at this is we broke the 50. We've got some negatively stacked moving averages. We've got previous high support at 90. Fib retracement. Point of control is down here at 89, 85. That's going to work as a magnet. However, the slingshot squeeze on this lower time frame may get us back up and bring us back up to the upside. That's why I said I want to look at this both ways, right? We're currently trading out of the top, right? We're in trifecta mode, which means we're out of the top of all of the Keltner channels, and we've got volume and momentum. We've got the sector, right? The crude sector is rallying. But if we break down, like I said, we can break down into the 4-hour cloud, which would bring us back into the daily. So from the daily top down to 4-hour mid, 89, all the way back down here to this 4-hour bottom weekly cloud support at 80, 86.50. Yeah, 86.50. Big moves over the last couple days. Like I said, we are trifecta mode. We're out of the top of everything. We're super bullish. Momentum. Does the momentum continue? It definitely can. If it does, we're going to look at the 95s. I'll see what the options chain has to say for it. All right. Just know the flow index is going to make a decision whether it's going to be bullish or bearish. All right, let me get this up here. All right, has weeklies. So got our weeklies. So we said to the downside, the 86, right? Not a lot of volume and momentum there. Let's look at, all right, so the 87s have got a lot of volume and momentum, and so do the 89s, right? We're trading at 92. Actually, the 91s look good because of the bid-ask spread, right? And so do the 89s. So 89, 91. Know that we have an $86 target, so we'd go a little bit in the money on those, right? So 89, 91 puts. And then to the upside, we're trading at 92. So from a volume momentum's perspective, look at this. Look at these 95s. Look at the volume on that. Pretty decent bid-ask spread. So we would look at, I would probably go with a little bit higher delta. So I would go with the 93 or 94s, knowing that 95 would be the holy grail of of this stock. So let's do, I say 92.50. So yeah, 93.94 calls. The reason I'm looking at those is because if this price closes at $95.01, market makers have to pay out 156,000 contracts, right? There's open interests. Hold on a second. Let me look at this. Get this over here. Makes a little bit more sense this way, right? So the gross open interest, these are thousands of units, right? So that it's kind of the holy grail, that $95 level on Valero. Okay. All right. And then last but not least, we have COF. It's not coffee, it's Capital One. So we've got a stock from each of the major sectors that is not tech driven, right? So like I said, materials, consumer staples, and energy, and then finally financials. Now financials are supposed to do well when we start talking about inflation. I don't know what this bar right here means. It's a big $3 bar. This stock only moves about $5 a day, so pretty decent ATR. Blew through some block trades, but look at what's happening with the flow index. All right, smart money has been selling out of positions. It's created some divergence, right? It's created some bearish divergence at approximately this level here, all right, which is at 148 level. We can see a pullback to 148. We came down and we tested previous lows, right? There's a previous lows right there. We tested that and bounced. I'm not sure what this giant candle means, but we were going to keep an eye on it, okay? We have dark pool levels at 156, 157.50, and 158.84. We went through those. Are we triple topping, right? Is that what's happening here? We're going to keep an eye on it. Okay. We rallied up. We tested the 21. Could not really close above it. We dojied here. Pulling back to 153, which is point of control. And then the daily mean is at 150, which is also where the 50-day is. So the 150 level, I need to write this down. 153 is POC. What level is that exactly? 150. How clean is that? Is the mean? Well, is the mean. All right. Was there a dividend day? All right. So they had their dividend, so they should have pulled back. So big rally up. Possible slingshot squeeze getting ready to release. So it's a low compression squeeze, ready and firing off. Testing this highs again, right? We are really trying to test -2 ATR and close above the 50-day. Breaking it down to the daily, we couldn't, right? We really couldn't close above it. Do we pull back and test the 21? We've got stack positive moving averages, 1, 2, 3, possible 4, possible fifth leg up. So I want to look at the 160s, 165s to the upside. Let me just write this down someplace. 160, 165 calls. On the weekly chart, we're starting to get our moving averages stack positive again, right? We closed above the 50, the 34, the 21, and the 8 EMA. The 200 days way down here. Looks like there might be some trend line resistance, or there is. We're either in a previous supply zone now, right? Or there's one right up here that we're going to test. So the 160, 165s look really decent to the upside, to the downside. If we reject this 200, we can come back to 150, 155, 150, right? With 153 being point of control, that puts us right in the middle. So we would do the 155, 150 puts. All right, I've got those written down now. All right. Nice rally up. This is a 10-minute chart. We kind of sold off at the end of last week. A little bit of a slingshot squeeze getting ready to release. We closed right at point of control. So do we have that 155, 150 move down to the downside? It's a pretty big move. 155 looks decent. We may You want to look at those 155, 150s. 155. So we will look at puts when we get those up. Negatively stacked moving averages. We're close. We're below the 200, below the 50. If they squeeze us, there's no real squeezes to fire, but maybe histograms, slingshot reversal. Let's see. We rallied up to the monthly top cloud. Couldn't get through to the daily. And there's a big old supply zone right here. Rejected the daily, rejected the 4 hour. So next stop would be 4 hour mid at 154. 4 hour bottom at 151, 152. We do have this weekly at 153. So based on the options chain, we'll have to modify those a little bit. Rallied up above the 200 on the 4 hour. Couldn't get back above it. We came back, did touch the 4 hour mid. So we can back test 153, which is a weekly, and then the 4 hour bottom. So I'm going to look at the 150. 150. And let's do the 154, 153s. All right. And that is COF. Capital One. All right. Here's the options chain for Capital One for this week. Let's say 150. All right, so they go into $2.50 increments. So the 152 150s, pretty decent open interest, pretty decent volume. Those are within our risk tolerance. So 152 150s. Yeah, I wouldn't want to go much lower than 150s based on delta. So let me just write this down. 152.50, 150 puts for this week. And then calls, all right, we close at 156. All right, so if we were to make that move back up, right, to this 160 level here, right, double green, a dividend would have helped drop it. Some lower term slingshot squeezes. I said the 160, 165s. 160s are well within our risk tolerance. That may be as far out as I would want to go. So 157, 50s, ooh, that's tough. The reason is just the delta, the big drop from 30 delta to 19 delta. Lots of turnover, 1.5 thousand units. Or 36, pretty decent bid-ask spread. So 157, 157.50, and the 160 calls, right? What's going to trigger those? Well, 160s if we can get above the 200, right? So if we bounce off of this 4 hour mid, 4 hour top, yeah, I don't know, this is pretty bearish looking, right? 152s are down here and 150s are down here. So do we retrace this whole thing? Do we reject this triple top? We'll definitely have to check it out. All right, so that's it. Thanks for joining me. I'm Darkwell Algo. Really appreciate y'all showing up here today. I'll have this video posted in a little bit. If you have any questions, make sure you hit me up on Twitter or reach out to me in the Discord. Thanks for joining me. On your way out the door, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, turn on notifications. Really does help me out with the algorithm. And stay safe, stay green. And if you don't know what's going on, sit back and watch. Maybe paper trade it. Paper trade this volatility from an overall market perspective. I don't have it up. Maybe I can do it here. From an overall market perspective, like I said, we not looking the greatest. You know, this is a daily chart. We closed below 50. You know, we're going to come back and back test. You know, maybe some of this previous lows, 432, can get super ugly here. That's a SPY. QQQ. Same deal. Rejected the 200, rejected the 200. Negatively stacked. If this was any other stock, I would say let's short it, right? The only thing that I'm a little iffy on is if this is a trend line support here and we get a bounce back up. IWM does look, you know, it looked pretty decent, rallied up. All right, rejected the 34, closed below the 21. Do we get another pop back up and test some of these previous lows, or do we get a continuation to the downside? Is this another trend line support deal? All right, like this. We broke trend line support, pulling back. Okay, I got to run. Thanks for joining me. hit the like button, subscribe, turn on notifications. Have a great day. Bye now.